Oh, I got you. Let's take a minute and talk about Woodrow Wilson. Let's go.
Woodrow Wilson was a son of Confederates, and he believed that the South should have seceded from the rest of the nation in order to maintain its way of life, and the way of life, of course, being enslaving people. He wrote that black people were an ignorant and an inferior race, and while he was president of Princeton University, Wilson discouraged any black people from even applying for admission. During his presidency, he reinstated segregation within the federal government. Many black workers were laid off to maintain his policy, and his lack of objection to segregate the workforce made things even worse. At this time, the Department of Treasury and the Post Office introduced a segregated work environment with partitions, separate lunchrooms, and bathrooms for each sex, in which there had been two before. 4 restrooms were now required. When Wilson took office, he personally fired 15 black supervisors in the federal service, replacing them with white people. Wilson was even reported to say, "Segregation is not humiliating, but a benefit, and ought to be so regarded by you gentlemen." He was also a KKK sympathizer, and the KKK adored him so much that they quoted him 3 times within their white supremacist classic film, Birth of a Nation. Wilson even screened this film at the White House, praised it, and even suggested that it should be educational material. Wilson reinstated Jim Crow in Washington, D.C., and he did not limit himself to just the nation's capital. He ordered the elimination of all senior positions in the federal government where black Americans supervised white Americans. And one of these federal officials Wilson arranged to be fired was a black customs inspector living out his last years in South Carolina. His name was Robert Smalls, who was a former enslaved person who became a Civil War hero and was one of the first black Americans to serve in the U.S. Congress. He was definitely racist towards people of color and is considered a horrible example of a presidency.